Good afternoon, students. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. So let's start the class. I said you already that class will start at 2 o'clock sharply. Okay. Break is not for 1 hour, right? So 50 minutes is enough, more than enough, I think so. Okay. So let me start the class. Right. So are you able to see the screen, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Okay. So in the last class, in the video, the Terjagi's bearing capacity theory was discussed, right? So in the video, the derivation was shown for you, Terjagi bearing capacity equation, right? So in today's class, we'll discuss about Mehra's bearing capacity theory. Okay, so there is a small change in between Terjagi's theory and Mehra's theory. Okay, if you see, okay, so there is the small changes here you can see in the failure surfaces. Okay, so in the Terjagi's theory, the failure surface was limited to the base of the foundation only. But in the Mehrab's theory, if you see the image, okay, the failure surface was extended to the ground surface. Okay, but in the Terjagi's theory, if you can remember the diagram, the failure surface was still here only. But in this case, it was extended. Okay, it is extended. Okay, so the zone ABC is called elastic zone. So this triangle portion is called as elastic zone. Okay, the zone BCD is called as BCD is called as this portion is called as shear zone, radial shear zone. Okay, the zone B D E F. Okay, it is like above the base of the foundation. This portion B D E F. Okay, above the base of the foundation. The backfill portion, the soil portion is called as the mixed shear zone. Okay, so it is mixed with between radial shear and plane shear zone. Okay, so if you can remember, there was only uh, radial shear zone and passive zone in the Terjagi's theory, but here it is mixed zone. Okay, the backfill portion is mixed with the radial shear and plane shear. Right. So this is the equation for Mehra's bearing capacity. Okay, so you all know what is mean by QNU. Okay, QNU represents net ultimate bearing capacity. N represents net, U represents ultimate, Q represents bearing capacity. QNU represents net ultimate bearing capacity. This is given by the scientist Mehrhof. Okay, so if you see the equation here, see any type of bearing capacity equation involves three things. Okay, so it was discussed already. The bearing capacity mainly depends on surcharge, that is Q. Okay, Q term, and weight term or unit weight term, and cohesion. Okay, so it was discussed in the Terjagi's derivation also. Okay, so always any bearing capacity equation will be mostly in the three terms. Okay, that is cohesion, and the second term is regarding surcharge, third term is regarding weight or the unit weight of the soil. Okay, but of course sometimes this cohesion term will be avoided, this surcharge term will be avoided in a special cases like cohesionless soil or pure cohesive soil. In those cases these terms will be avoided, of course. Okay, but generally the equation will look like this with the two terms. Okay, so it was mentioned for you already in the Terjagi's derivation. What is NC, what is SQ, and what is S gamma or N gamma. Okay, or NQ. Okay, so whatever are there with the term S, these are the shape factors. These are called as shape factors. Okay, and whatever terms are there with the N, these are called as bearing capacity factors. Okay, N represents bearing capacity, S represents shape factors. Okay, and D represents depth factor. I represents inclination. Okay, I represents inclination. Okay, so this is the meaning of each term in the equation. Okay, so if you see the term, okay, dq, okay, dq, it represents depth regarding surcharge. Okay, so the terms means this. Okay, B represents base of the pudding. Okay, so what is W dash? Okay, that we'll discuss now. How we'll get W dash? Okay, so W dash looks like this. Okay, W dash equal to 1. Okay, if the water table is at or below a depth of df plus b. Okay, df plus b. Okay, from the base of the foundation. Okay, if there is depth b, okay, and depth of foundation df. Okay, if the water table is existing at a depth b from the base of the foundation, that is called as in that case w dash will be equal to 1. Okay, if the water table rises to the base of the pudding. Okay, so the second case, if you see from the diagram. Okay, so if the water table rises to here, this is second case. Okay, in that case w dash will be zero point 0.5. Okay, in the first case, if you see, the w dash will be 1. I'll show you in the image. Okay, W dash will be 1 when the water table, okay, when the water table exists at B depth. Okay, so this is the base of the footing. If the water table is present from depth of B, okay, if the water table is here, in this case, the W dash term will be equal to 1. Okay, in the second case, okay, case 2, if the water table exists here, okay, second case. Okay, in this case it will be 0 0.5. Okay, so this is about Meyerhoff's equation. Okay, so see, there won't be any questions on the Meyerhoff's equation mostly in the external exam. Okay, so as of our syllabus is concerned, Ted Jargis questions will be there repeatedly from Ted Jargis theory. Okay, right. So along with this Meyerhoff's theory, we need to discuss one more method, that is IS code method. Okay. So what does IS code has given the equation for ultimate bearing capacity? Okay. Right. So IS code IS 6403 1981 has given the equation for net ultimate bearing capacity. Okay, and it is similar like basic equation. Okay, so Vesic is also one of the scientists who has given the equation for net ultimate bearing capacity. We'll discuss about Vesic's equation also. Okay, so net ultimate bearing capacity, which is given by IS code, is equal to this one. Okay, right. So almost all the equation which is given by the Terjagi or IS code method or basic equation, these will be similar, but only one term will change. Okay, even Meyerhoff's also, only one term will be changing. That will be mostly in a surcharge term. Okay, so try to observe the difference from each equation. Okay, right. So this is the basic equation. So this is the information about basic equation. So basic equation is like this. See, IS code method, you can see some difference. Here NQ minus 1 was there in the IS code equation, but basic equation is just this one. Okay, QU is equal to C dash NC SC. See, the IS code has given the equation for QNQ. QNU, okay, net ultimate bearing capacity, whereas basic has given equation for ultimate bearing capacity. Okay, right. So here I mentioned you already, S terms always represents shape factors. Okay, So here you can see in the table how the shape factors can be taken. Okay, these are the tables which are given by the Vesic, scientist Vesic. Okay, see the Terzaghi has given different values, Vesic has given different values. Okay, IS code method is following the values of similar to the Vesic equation. Okay, and Mehrab's, okay, Mehrab's is having graphs for NC, NQ and N gamma values. For those values he is not given the tables, he has given the graphs, Mehrab. Okay, so Vesic has given the values in the form of table. Okay, for shape factors and also for bearing capacity factors. Okay, so he mentioned the formula for DC, DQ and D gamma for depth factors. Okay, so for depth factors he is not mentioned the table. Okay, the values in the table form. Okay, he has given some formulae. Okay, right. So these are the formulae that are given by Vesic for depth factors. Okay, DCQ, DC, the formula for DC, depth, depth of cohesion. Okay, depth factor for cohesion, depth factor for surcharge. Okay, this should be gamma, sorry. So DQ is equal to D gamma is equal to, formula is this one. Okay, so different scientists have given different shape factors, different depth factors, different bearing capacity factors. Okay, so this is about different theories of bearing capacity. Okay, so we discussed in detail about Terzaghi's bearing capacity theory and overview of Mehrab's theory, basic theory and IS code method. Okay, so IS code method formula is this one. Okay, right. Right. So this is about shear strength, shear failure criteria. Okay, so it was said in the first class of shallow foundation. Okay, shear strength, the design of foundation is done in two categories. That is, uh, the foundation is designed against the shear failure and for to reduce the settlements in the foundation, to reduce the settlements in the soil, or to reduce the settlement in the footing. Okay, so whatever the theories that we discussed, Terzagh theory, Mehrab theory, so these theories all about shear failure. Okay, so whatever we will discuss from now onwards, it will be about settlement criteria. Okay, so we'll start the settlement criteria. Okay, right. So we are going to start the second part of fourth unit, that is settlement criteria. Okay, so listen to the video carefully, note down the equations from the video. Okay, don't just go through the video, it is very important to note down. Okay, then only you can remember something from the online classes. Okay,
uniform settlement, where, or you can say this is the total settlement also. So that is the uniform settlement. The next one, if you have two columns and you have two individual foundation for the column, so there is a possibility, because your load on the two columns are not same. So there is a possibility that both the columns may deform in different way. So in that case, if the one column deformation is S1, so suppose this is the original position of the
so students
foundation top,
are you able
and
to
this is the final position of the.
are you able to see the video? Yes, students, are you able to see the video? Yes. Jayanti, are you there in the class?
Yes.
So, is that voice is audible for you properly? from the video?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So let me continue the video.
Foundation top, then this is the S1 and then this is the S2 for the second column. Then there will be a angular distortion, or this angular distortion you can say this is the delta is the difference of your settlement. So, that means here this is the your delta value is basically S2 minus S1, which is the difference of the settlement, and then if I divide it to the spacing between two columns or two foundation, then that will give you the angular distortion. In now, in sometimes this delta is also called the differential settlement. So, now when you design this foundation, then you have to check the total settlement, then you have to check the differential settlement, because you cannot have a excessive amount of the total settlement as well as the excessive amount of the differential settlement also, because then you will be problem in your structure. So, that means we have to make foundation such that the total settlement and the differential settlement should be within the permissible limit. So, that means this is the differential settlement, or the in other way the angular distortion that you have to check. Now, the next type of thing is that the tilting. Now, in the previous case, was the difference between the angular distortion or the differential settlement and the tilting is that in previous case your two foundation as the differential different settlement, but here your settlement, this is also due to the differential settlement, but the differential settlement in such that one side of the building is deformed more compared to the other side of the building, then the total building will tilt because of this differential settlement. So, that means settlement difference. So, that tilting that means when the total system, total building will tilt. So, that also you have to take care. So, there is basically this type of settlement, that there will be uniform settlement or the maximum settlement, there will be the differential settlement or the angular distortion, or there will be the tilting. So, all these things you have to take care during the design of the foundation. Now, the settlement of the shallow foundation is basically three types. So, that means this is the summation of the three types of settlement. The first settlement, that is ST, total settlement, is SI, SC and SS. So, SI is the immediate or the elastic settlement, generally you get immediately after application of the load, and it takes place during the application of the loading. And in clay, the settlement is due to the change in the shape of the soil without a change in the volume of the water or the water content. It is neglected as compared to the long term settlement. So, in case of sandy soil, the majority of the settlement is the immediate settlement. So, or you can say the total settlement is the immediate settlement, because it is sandy soil. If you apply the load, then the settlement will be happen immediately. But in the clay soil, the immediate settlement is the settlement that will occur due to the shape change of the soil. It is not the volume change of the soil or the water content change of the soil, because when there will be change in the volume or when you apply the load, the water will dissipate. So, volume, your void ratio will reduce and there will be settlement. That settlement in the consolidation settlement, that is not the immediate settlement. But the immediate settlement in the clay, it is due to the change in shape of the soil. So, in case of clay, the immediate settlement is the negligible amount. So, the most of the settlement will be the consolidation settlement or the third type of the settlement. So, that means in the sand, the most of the settlement is the immediate settlement. In the clay, the immediate settlement is negligible compared to the long term settlement, because immediate settlement is the short term settlement. Now, SC is the primary consolidation settlement due to the consolidation, or due to the dissipation of the water, the volume reduces and settlement occurs. And SCC is the secondary compression settlement. It occurs because of the volume change occurring due to the rearrangement of the particle. So, that means, when there is a volume change, there will be particle rearrangement. Because of that, there will be also a settlement. So, that is the SS. So, that means, if I draw a graph, so there is three types of settlement: immediate settlement, primary settlement or primary consolidation settlement, and or the secondary settlement, which is called as the secondary compression. So, that means, here the primary consolidation and secondary settlements are the time dependent settlement, but the immediate settlement is not the time dependent settlement. Immediately after application of the load, the settlement will occur. So, now the granular soil, the immediate settlement is the entire settlement, because the other two settlements are negligible, because most of the settlement will occur immediately. But for the inorganic clay, the primary consolidation accounts the major part of the settlement, and for the organic clay, secondary compression accounts major part of the settlement. So, now for the organic clay, it is the third part will take the major one, but for the inorganic clay, so primary consolidation will take the major part. So, and then but the short term settlement for the clay soil also negligible compared to the long term settlement. So, now when you design this thing or settlement calculations, you have to take care all these things. If it is sandy soil, you have to take the immediate settlement. If it is a inorganic clay, then you have to take the primary consolidation settlement. Now, how I will calculate the immediate settlement, because it is the immediate or the elastic settlement, because when we apply it is elastically immediate. Okay. So, that means the elastic settlement we can use using this equation. So, where Q is the net foundation pressure. So, that means the Q value is the, if it is the foundation base. So, how much net pressure is acting at the foundation base. So, that is called the Q. B is the width of foundation, or this is the width of foundation. Mu is the Poisson ratio of the soil, and E is the elastic modulus or Young's modulus of the soil. So, how we will calculate the, we will get the elastic modulus if we have a stress strain. This is the axial strain and this is the stress diagram. So, in the soil we have this type of stress strain curve. So, elastic means the slope of the stress strain curve in the initial straight portion. Though this slope of this curve will give you the elastic modulus of the soil. So, basically it is the stress divided by the strain, and this is the elastic zone, that means the straight portion of the stress strain curve. And then IF is the influence factor, and then when you calculate the elastic settlement, then you have to apply two corrections, then the depth corrections. One is the rigidity correction that you have to apply for the raft foundation. So, now if depth correction is required, all the expressions are developed for the surface footing, but you will place the foundation at a depth below the ground surface. So, you have to apply a correction in the settlement, and the rigidity correction is that if you are designing a foundation which is isolated footing, then that is flexible kind of foundation. Now, if you are applying or designing a raft foundation which is a rigid kind of foundation, in that type of foundation you have to apply a rigidity correction. So, immediate settlement you have to apply two corrections, one is the depth corrections, another is the rigidity correction. Next one, so these are the influence factor values for the flexible foundation and the rigid foundation or the raft, flexible foundation or the isolated footing. So, this is for the circular, square, rectangular, all L by B value, L is the length, B is the width of the foundation. So, at the center, at the corner, and this is the average, and this is the rigidity correction for the rigid foundation, these are the IF value. Now, if you look at these values, so these IF values for the rigid foundation is almost 80% of the IF value that you are getting at the center of the flexible foundation. So, what we do that is why what we do that we use the IF value for the center at the center, because that is the maximum at the center for the flexible foundation in case of rigid foundation design. Then we apply a rigidity correction of 0.8 for the rigid foundation. So, that means we will use only the IF value of the IF value of flexible foundation at the center, both flexible foundation and the rigid foundation. So, for the flexible foundation we will not apply any correction, but the rigid foundation over this settlement we will apply a rigidity correction which is 0.8. So, the typical value of the mu Poisson ratio of the soil is given in this chart. So, this chart you can use for your reference purpose. So, these are the all Poisson ratio values are given for the different soil. So, you can see for the unsaturated it is 0.123, but for the saturated clay it is close to the 0.5. So, that is we generally take 0.45 for the saturated clay, and sand it is 0.25 to 0.15, silt it is 0.3. So, these are the Poisson ratio value. Similarly, we can get the Young's modulus or the elastic modulus of the soil by using these equation. This is E value is the elastic modulus, and these are the equation that. So, we will use this equation when we solve the problem, and then I will discuss these how we will use this equation in that when you solve the problem. But these are the value. N value is the SPT value, and for the soft K by using cone resistance also you can get the E value, that elastic modulus, by using these expression. Remember that E is in kilonewton per meter square. And for the clay soil also we can use the undrained cohesion or the undrained strength of the soil SU. So, that is your for the normally consolidated clay you will get E elastic modulus, and for the over consolidated clay. So, I have discussed what is normally consolidated, what is over consolidated, and for the sensitive clay generally we will concentrate in these two, over consolidated and normally consolidated, or heavily over consolidated, normally consolidated. So, you will get this SU is nothing but for this case is SU is equal to Cu, undrained cohesion. So, that if you know the undrained cohesion, then we will get the E value from this range. Generally, if you know the Cu value, you take the average value of this range, and that you can, if nothing is mentioned, you take the average value of this range, and then you use for the elastic modulus calculation for the clay. Now, so elastic modulus for the other tables are given to, this is the range of elastic modulus. So, your elastic modulus that you are taking, that should be within this range. So, there are a number of ways you can determine the elastic modulus. So, for the clay soil and the sandy soil. So, but this should be within this range that table is given. So, next one is the consolidation settlement. So, consolidation settlement you can calculate in this is the for the normally consolidated soil. So, that is the settlement equation, and you can do it in two ways, and what are the values are given based on that. Cc is the compression index and Mb is the coefficient of volume compression. So, if you have volume compression compressibility value, and then you have to use the second equation. You have, if you have the compression index value, then you have to use the first equation. And remember that this P 0 is the initial effective overburden pressure before applying the foundation, and del P is the additional stress that is coming due to the foundation load, or the load that is coming on the to the foundation from the superstructure and from the foundation to the soil. So, that means the del P is the stress that at a point in the soil is induced to the applied external load, and P 0 bar is the soil pressure which is effective overburden pressure. And here we have to apply three corrections. So, what are these three corrections? Say for the depth corrections, for the rigidity corrections and for the pore water pressure corrections, because depth correction is common for flexible footing and the rigid footing or the raft foundation, but rigidity correction is applicable only for the rigid footing or the raft, but it is not applicable for the flexible foundation, but the pore water pressure correction is applicable for both raft, flexible and the rigid footing. So, isolated footing, there are two corrections, depth correction and the pore water pressure correction, but for the rigid footing or the raft foundation, there are three corrections that you have to apply in the consolidation settlement, that is the depth correction, rigidity correction and the pore water pressure correction. Now, so I will discuss that as I was mentioned that this is for normally consolidated clay. In the second lecture, I have discussed that from the E-log P curve, you will get the pre-consolidation pressure. So, if this is your log P and this is E y ratio, and if this is the PC value. So, now if your, so that means you have two stresses, one is the P plus P 0 or P 0 bar, which is the initial effective overburden pressure, because it is bar effective. So, P 0 bar plus del P. So, now if your both the pressure are within this range, then it is the normally consolidation case, where this slope is CC compression index. So, if then you have to use this expression, and if your P 0 bar plus del P in this range, then we have to use, instead of CC, this will be CS, Soilin index. So, these things I have discussed in the second lecture. So, you can go through that lecture and you can see that where you have to use CS, where you have to use CC. CC is for the normally consolidation soil, consolidated soil, and CS for the over consolidated soil. If your del P plus P 0 range is here, I mean beyond less than PC, then you have to use CS. If this total value is greater than PC, then you have to use the CC. Another option is that your P 0 bar is here, but P 0 plus del P is in this range. That means, the P 0 is less than, P 0 bar is less than PC, but P 0 bar plus del P is greater than PC. So, then you have to use the third equation that I have given in that lecture. So, but here most of the problem that I will solve in this course is normally consolidated soil. So, we will use this equation, which is the for the normally consolidated soil. So, mainly I will use this equation, and if the values are given in this form, then we can use this equation also, but either this or this that we will use. Now, we are talking about the rigidity correction. You know that if the foundation is rigid, if depth correction is also, you know that if because these are equation are developed for the surface footing, but we are placing footing as some depth. So, to apply the depth correction, but why you have to go for the pore water pressure correction? Because pore water pressure correction is required, all these equation that I am talking about, this Tazaki 1D consolidation equation. So, that means, here it is assumed that the soil will deform in one directional, I mean only in the vertical direction, but actually the consolidation is a 3D problem, because your soil can flow not only in the vertical direction, it can flow in any direction x, y, z. So, that means, it is actually 3D problem, but the equation that we are using, that is derived for 1D problem. So, that is why you have to apply a correction, that is for pore water pressure correction. So, that correction is value is correction factor is this one and this one. So, these are the range of these for the what is the range of this correction factor for different clays. So, we are talking about, we will consider it here. So, normally consolidated clay, it is 0.7 to 1. So, we have to first we will calculate the consolidation settlement for considering 1D equation, then we multiply with this correction factor to convert it for the 3D problem. So, this is the normally consolidated clay and this is for the over consolidated clay, and this is for the heavily over consolidated clay. And then if we have the pore water pressure parameter A. So, now from the soil mechanics course, you know that these two pore water pressure parameter, one is A and one is B. So, if we have A parameter value, then by using this chart which is proposed by IS code, so we can calculate the correction, this is settlement coefficient. So, which is nothing but the value that we are using for the correction factor. So, that is for you can use for this. What is this chart? Because if we have a, this is the foundation base and this H t is the thickness of the soil layer that you are talking or you are considering for the settlement calculation. So, remember that when you are I am talking about that bearing capacity, then the influence zone was taken as B, but when we are calculating the settlement, then you have to go for a bigger influence zone, then the influence zone is generally taken as 1.52 twice B. So, for the bearing capacity calculation, we will consider the soil parameter up to the B from the base of the foundation, but for the settlement calculation, we will consider the soil up to a depth of 1.52 B from the base of the foundation. But I will prefer, I will always use twice B as the influence zone when it is settlement calculation. So, I will use a soil up to the depth twice B from the base of the foundation during the settlement calculation. So, here, so this is the H t, this is the influence zone, but there may be some rigid bed also, there you cannot go up to twice B. So, you have to restrict it within the twice B if there is a hard rock say. So, in those case, so that means the actual H t is the thickness of the soil layer that you are considering during the settlement calculation, and B is the width of foundation. So, if you know,
see students, here influence zone means the area where the stresses are distributed. Okay, so till 1.5 B or till 2 B, the stresses are distributed. Okay, from the base of the foundation. Okay.
H t by B values, and if you know the A. So, from here for the different H t by B's values. So, we have this is normally consolidated range, this is over consolidated range, and the very sensitive case. If you know, for example, if our A value is 0.8, okay, and we have a circular footing. So, that means the farm line and steep footing the dotted line. So, we will go for the farm line and H t by B say 1. So, H t by B, this is the H t by B 4, this is 1, this is 0.5, this is 0.25. So, H t by B 1 is this one, and then corresponding correction factor will be around 0.87. So, our correction factor will be 0.87 if H t by B is 1, and this is for H t by B is equal to 1 and A value is equal to 0.8. So, if your A value is given and if you are designing H B is obviously given, and H t you have to decide how much influence zone you will consider, and then corresponding correction factor you will get from this chart, and that value is 0.87. So, similarly, for the other case also we can determine what will be the correction factor for pore water pressure. So, here I am finishing this class for this class. In the next class I will discuss about that how I will apply these theories and then calculate the settlement, and then how will what are the procedure you will apply for the settlement calculation of the clay, and what are the procedure or the methodology you will choose to settlement calculation for the sand, and then we will discuss about the plate load test also. That is the load test that we will do in the field to get the settlement and the bearing capacity from the plate load test. So, those things we will discuss in the next classes. Thank you.
So students, these settlement equations were already discussed for you in the geotechnical engineering subject. So you can watch video also, which is there in my YouTube channel. Okay, and the which is there in my YouTube channel, and the the name of the video will be settlement equations. Okay. So you have already heard about this, what is settlement, what is initial settlement, what is secondary settlement. Okay. So I hope you got this information from the video, and you need not to think much about these correction factors. Okay. So you just need the information about it. Okay. In the exam, there won't be any question about the correction factors. Okay. So very less strength in today's class also, I don't know why. Okay, because yesterday the class was delayed, it's okay. But why it is a very less strength? Today class is within the scheduled time itself, right? No, no, right. So students, I'm ending up the session. Okay, I have taken the attendance. Right. So in the next class, we'll discuss about plate load test. See, already in the first unit, I discussed about plate load test. Okay. So before coming to the next class, you just once go through the PPT of first unit. Okay, regarding plate load test. Okay. So at that time itself, I said it will be there again for you in the fourth unit, if you can remember. Okay. So go through the plate load test once again from the first unit. Okay. The same thing will be discussed in tomorrow's class also. Okay. Not in tomorrow's class, in the next class. Okay. Right. I'm ending up the session. Right.